Hello, I am Jeff Hajek, the owner and founder of Action Continuous Improvement. Today I will be talking to you about the phases of my continuous improvement development system. So let's get right to it. So phase 1, introduction and exploration, is when you're just trying to figure out if lean is right for you. Many leaders just skip over the step because they've already been exposed to lean in a different organization and know what it is and what it can do for the company. This is common when a new senior leader starts working at an organization. Many companies, though, have to figure it out on their own, and phase 1 is where they do it. This brings me to the actual impact of my point about cookie-cutter approaches and systems from the last episode. I provide a checklist for each of the phases. You have to decide which of the items on the checklist are important to your organization. You may have a different opinion than I do about when you want to introduce poka-yoke or if you want people focusing on waste before or after they learn how to deal with it. Regardless of what you decide, though, I recommend that you create a checklist for yourself. And use that checklist to create a plan. Make sure you use it, and then follow that plan. Make sure you hit your targets. Make sure you do what you say you're going to do. It is amazing to me how often people devote resources to coming up with a good plan and then abandon it. If you don't make following it a focus of the organization, it gets too easy to delay changes and your transition will slowly peter out. Okay, let's get back to talking about what happens as your senior leaders finish up their exploration and decide they want to move forward. My phase 1 checklist has just a handful of items in it, but the most important is selecting a program leader. This person is the champion for your transformation. They have both responsibility and authority to push, pull, coerce, cajole, and drag an organization through its inherent resistance to change. I want to stress one thing about the program leader. They are a coach and mentor and a bulldog. Every leader is responsible for growing the culture in their own organization, though. The program leader is just a tool to help them be successful. Now, once that person, the program leader, is selected, it is time for the organization to move on to phase 2, committing. In this phase, the leadership team actually takes concrete actions that turns a corner from thinking about lean as an approach to actually investing time and money in it. Much of what happens here, though, is behind the scenes. Leaders are making plans. They are formalizing the company's strategy and values. They are allocating resources and space for the teams to work on projects. They are starting to acquire training materials and creating continuous improvement processes. The biggest thing in phase 2, though, is communicating the plan to the organization. Once that happens, it's game on. The team is going to react. Most people have a significant aversion to change. Shortly after announcing the change, you enter phase 3, starting the journey, with an uphill battle ahead of you. So in phase 3, we try not to do anything extremely dramatic right away. From the frontline team's perspective, phase 3 is all about problem solving. We teach them PDCA, or Plan, Do, Check, Act. It is a basic problem solving methodology. In addition, we recommend getting frontline teams familiar with a variety of problem solving tools like the 5 Whys or cause and effect diagrams. The leadership team, though, does face more significant change in phase 3. They have to change the basic ways they manage the organization. They will put a lot more metrics in place. They will have to take action right away when they miss on those metrics. They will have to get out into the work areas they manage a lot. And most challenging for many, they will begin using policy deployment. This is a methodology for turning strategy into actionable items at the front line. The fundamental change is that the leadership process is well documented. It is more scientific. Intuition and gut feel still certainly plays a role, but decisions must be based on facts and data. And because those decisions are communicated to the organization, the leadership team has to deliver on its promises. In phase 4, building the foundation, change is much more widespread. Teams begin doing projects. These can be small on-the-spot changes, or they can be a large week-long event using a cross-functional team. These bigger projects go by many different names, such as Kaizen Blitz, Rapid Improvement Workshop, or Kaizen Event. In addition, daily management is introduced. That means teams are producing against targets throughout the day. The targets are based on takt time, which is the required pace of production, and the available capacity. When a team falls behind the expected pace, you have to find out why so you can track down the problem as it is happening. Over time, as these problems are dealt with, the work starts flowing more smoothly. You'll also see some other core tools such as Kanban, a type of production signal, and standard work. There's also a rather healthy emphasis on waste. Phase 5 introduces a couple of new tools such as Poka-yoke, another name for mistake proofing, and value stream mapping, which provides a high-level view of how work flows through your organization. Mostly though, Phase 5 is about ramping up. It is about spreading the tools you've learned to all corners of the organization. It's about getting better at those tools. It's about developing processes that become bulletproof. And it's about increasing the pace of improvement. This phase can take several years to move through. And that brings us to Phase 6, keeping momentum. While there is a Phase 7, becoming world-class, most companies that are successful at Lean end up in Phase 6. As such, it is not really a phase per se, but I am reluctant to call it the end of the journey. Everything that you have already done can continue to be improved. You can learn and introduce new tools. As you roll out new product lines, you'll have to be aggressive about following Lean principles. You may acquire new companies and will have to teach them how you operate. You may go to your suppliers and even your customers and teach them. The bottom line is you will never truly stop changing how you operate. But for all intents and purposes, by the time you get deep into Phase 6, you'll have a pretty strong understanding of continuous improvement. Instead of having me as a guide leading you down the Lean path, you'll be breaking trail on your own. You may come to me or other providers of Lean training materials to help overcome particularly challenging obstacles, but the bulk of your progress should be in your own hands by this time. Of course, for most of you watching this video, that's a long way off. But I want you to begin with the end in mind. Know where you are going and keep that in mind as you make decisions. Okay, I've talked about this long enough. Go out there and make some improvements. If you need help making those improvements, contact me for consulting help at info@volaction.com. I also want to mention that I have loads of other training materials available to support your Lean efforts. Our Lego sets are particularly popular and are available at www.volactionstore.com. Until next time, best wishes on your continuous improvement journey.